brief now. So I would like to welcome everyone to the Second String Debate Team podcast. Second String Debate Team podcast. Second String Debate Team. Second String Debate Team. Second String Debate Team podcast.
All right. Well, hello and welcome to episode 13 of the Second String Debate Team podcast. I am Javin.
I'm Alex. No, you're what? What? Wait, what was that?
All right.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Wait.
Hey. Okay. All right. Anyways, we are joined today by a guest, my friend, and someone I was fortunate enough to serve with in the Army, Tony Russo. He is the only guest that has added to the ambiance by adding to the cactus count, as you can see above him and behind me. Tony is coming to us today from North Carolina. So, Tony, why don't you tell the people a little bit about who you are and why you're here?
Yeah, man, I have no idea why I'm here. Who I am is a pretty simple story. I grew up in New England. Knew I had to get the hell out of that hellhole. Joined the military at 17. I would have joined earlier. I knew I was going to join right when the towers went down, but I was still in middle school. Joined the military at 17. Did about 12 years. Medically retired out of Fort Bragg in 2018. Found my forever home, my forever career, and now I'm just here doing what I can in the veteran space, reaching out, philanthropy, helping out in any way that I can, being a positive influence for those, that are already here and those that are to come. Other than that, I have a huge drive for health and wealth, which is the topic of what we're doing here today and what we're going to talk about. So it kind of rolls right into that.
Right on.
Well, perfect. I think that also matches, for those who may watch this in the future, their current situation of the climate in the United States right now. Both of those things are actually extremely important. So to answer your question why you're here, that's why you're here.
You do have a reason. But no, I guess one of the main things that I wanted to kind of pick your brain on, because I know that you used to harp on just financial wisdom a lot when you were in charge of me in the Army, and I wouldn't listen to you very much. So now that I'm actually willing to listen, would you like to elaborate again on like kind of as you would to Private Bear back in the day? How would you tell me to manage my finances in a way to grow, a way to better myself?
Yeah, so the way the finances work, right? And I think most people who aren't financially secure, financially free, they just didn't grow up with that acuity, if you will. So there's a huge separation between the wealth and then, all the way to the middle class and down. And one of those huge separation factors is education, right? It's just most households aren't taught a lot of that financial acuity, right? And that's how to manage your money like a business, if you will, right? Accounts payable, accounts receivable. A lot of people I know commingle their funds, right? So you'll have a savings account and a checking account. And like your bills will come out of the same checking account that you're swiping at Walmart to buy stuff, right? So you're commingling your spending with your bills, right? And one of the things I tried to do back in the day was I tried to get people to stop doing that and start acting like an organization. You have accounts receivable, you have accounts payable. You should operate yourself the same way to where you have a gross account, which is income before deductions, right? Bills and stuff like that is gross. So like you'd have an account where everything comes into, right? Which is your umbrella, your gross account. And from there, you should have separate accounts, right? Where you feed money into your expenses, which is its own checking account. And then your net, your spending, which is what you have, into a different checking account, into like automatic transfers, And the reason you do this is because whatever you have on that spending account will never, ever affect the money that's already preset aside in your expense account. You're not commingling funds. You'll never swipe your card to buy a T-shirt and, oops, now you don't have enough money to pay your internet bill, right? Like, organizations don't do that. The rich people don't do that. They understand the system of how to divide their finances. Those were the topics I used to talk about when I would try to bring it up with my soldiers, because it's very, very common for young people from the middle class that join the military. They have free, housing, free food. It's not free, right? You're paying the bill, but it's already pre-deducted out of your paycheck. So to them, they feel covered, and they just go out and they blow their paycheck in a weekend. You know what I mean? And naturally, they're soldiers, so you're talking about alcohol and strippers. But either way, they're blowing their paycheck. And you get paid on Friday, and they're broke by Monday. And they bounce on bills. And what I would do is I would talk about how to divide up and how to, have accounts payable, have accounts receivable, have your emergency fund, which is completely different than a savings account. And those are the topics I would talk about with soldiers back then.
So
I would still suggest all the.
Oh, I'm sorry. You can continue.
No, I would suggest all those same things. That's really the gist of what I would talk about back then.
Okay.
There's much more to it when it comes to investing, emergency funds, equities, real estate portfolios, and stuff like that. Passive incomes and stuff like that. But I never really dove into that stuff when I was in the military with soldiers. Mainly just how to manage their finances like an adult.
Well, I mean,
So
that
I'm just
was
curious where you got this from. Like, where did you learn this from? And like, what was that initial inkling to even like pay attention to it?
Aspiration. I honestly read a fucking bumper sticker. And by bumper sticker, it's 2020, so it could have been a meme, an inspirational quote said by a fictional character from a movie, that we're all going to share and pretend like it touches us. So it was just read a book a week, and it'll change your life. It was one of those things. So CEOs read about 52 books, over 50 books a year. I don't know where I got 52 from. That's weeks, but they read about 50 books a year, right? An average CEO. So I realized I'm not doing that at all. And then I realized, what do I want to learn about? What don't I know about? Oh, I don't know how, managing money and equities and stocks to leave millions of dollars for my child when I pass, right? I learned about estate planning. Estate planning is, everything you're going to leave behind, all your assets, all your equities and stuff like that, how it's going to get distributed so that, when you pass, people don't end up going through the system when you don't have everything written out into a will and stuff like that, when you don't have gifts so you can, so there's gift tax, there's way to gift money so that you can avoid taxes, also taxation itself. These are all things I didn't know about, and I just realized that these are things that rich people have mastered, I need to learn this stuff because the middle class is not taught it. They don't know it. They don't teach their kids it because they don't practice it themselves. And I just wanted to be that change. So I started picking up books. And I started with, practically, man, the dummy books, right? Accounting for Dummies, Investing for Dummies. That and a couple Google searches and stuff. And I found out about Tony Robbins, right? Huge motivational speaker, definitely in tune with the finance world. Robert Kiyosaki, right? The Rich Dad series.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He's got 7 books himself, and then he has a whole Rich Dad network where he brings in real estate people, stockbrokers, fund managers that do their own books, litigation people, liability LLC rules. I got a bunch of them right here, man, that I've been talking to my friends about, like how to run an LLC so that you understand the liabilities, the litigations, how to, make your money work like an organization like we were talking about. And all that stuff just drove off aspiration that, I'm a middle-class dude making a paycheck, paying my bills, but I'm not going anywhere. How do I change that? And it's all simple. To be honest with you, it's just like jabbing, in the military. We always talk about, you want to be a master at something, you have to master the fundamentals, right? The basics.
yeah.
Mastery in the basics. To be honest with you, investing, real estate portfolios, equities, all that stuff, it's boring. It's not hard. It's not super interesting. It's a bunch of disciplined rules that you have to put into your life and let them keep growing and compounding over time. Because there's no magic button. Unfortunately, people will be pushing it. You can't just get rich tomorrow, right? It's labor. Like, you can't eat the fruit the day you plant the seed, right? So you just have to have those ridiculous, boring fundamentals in place and live by them.
Yeah, that's really funny because I think me and Seth kind of relate on that idea because we're both very creative people. And so that idea of the fundamentals, like that's the first thing we had to do was like drill those fundamentals down into videography, photography until that's second nature. And like, yeah, like getting a correct exposure is not a sexy, fun thing to do, but it's a very important thing to learn how to do.
Right. I mean, here's the thing about wealth. When you start to put those things in place and your wealth and assets start to build, it's when you can move away from managing those things because you can put them on autopilot over time and then go focus your energy on the things that make you happy, the sexy stuff. But the wealth and asset allocation isn't the sexy stuff. It's the bones, it's the structure of the building, right? You can hang the paintings after the walls are up.
So how many books, you said that CEOs read it like upwards of 50 books a year. How many books are you at now a year? Or what's your goal, I guess? A book a week.
I read one book a week, and I do it through audiobooks. I have a 40-minute commute, right, to my job. It's one way, 30 to 40 minutes, depending on existence. So, I mean, that both ways. I usually crush out a book in a week just from the commute. A lot of times there's some left over. I have about 8 acres of property. It takes me about 3 hours to mow on my zero turn. So blue moon. Whatever I don't finish, throw it right on my earphones.
Nice.
Hop on the mower, crush it out there.
Nice. And when you started, did you start with audiobooks, or did you just like pick up a real book? Like you said, you started with the Dummies books, right? And then how long until you were like, you know what, I'm really interested and I need to do way more, and it started to like take a hold more,
I read 4 real books.
In the beginning?
Yep. I read 4 real books.
So
and then I realized, man, I don't necessarily like reading.
Yeah.
But I do have a shit ton of commute, and I don't need so much LP1 Eminem in my life right now. So I swapped it out. I got an Audible account. To be honest with you, I started with DVDs or CDs, but I started realizing that I can't find all the books I want at like a Barnes & Noble or the websites or Amazon. I was finding gaps. So instead, I just went over and I swapped onto an Audible, which is amazing. If you have Amazon Prime and you're not using Audible, I mean, you already have Amazon, right? You're already a part of that association. You can get a really good deal where they give you a free book, and you get to pick the book, too, that you put the credit towards. So, like, you can buy the cheaper books. In most organizations, they'll only put the credit towards, like, the cheapest book. I have been buying $30 books with the credit each month and then physically buying, like, the $11 books. It's amazing.
So
cancel the account.
Was the switch to audiobooks more just for like a constant exposure to the, like, I guess basically what you couldn't read while you're driving or, stuff like that? Because I've tried audiobooks and I cannot focus into them because I'll be driving and then I'm like, the fuck? Like, what do you mean chapter 14? Like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
You have to find your medium, man. So everybody's different, dude.
I have to have
so
like a
people,
paperback book. I can't do anything else besides that.
I need a picture book.
I like the ones where you have
learn
the
better.
crayons.
I learn better if there's like literally pictures, because like that, I'm a visual person. So if I see a picture,
Your outlet is YouTube, man. all of these
No,
books.
it is.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, all of these books can be found by people who have compressed them into overviews and stuff like that. Like, none of this information is hiding.
That's
Let's just put
actually
it that way. It doesn't matter what outlet you need to plug into. You can plug into that outlet and you can get the education that you need.
on that real quick. I think that you bring up an interesting point that YouTube specifically is a very underutilized reference for, like, I mean, you can type almost anything into YouTube and find some sort of guidance. Is it always going to be empirical and correct? No. But like, you can find a video on something. Like, I specifically for the 98 Cherokee that I still drive, that thing still has not died yet. I have found countless videos on YouTube of, like, I've typed on there like, bitch won't start, and I've seen this dude like hammer the cylinder, like literally hammer the cylinder. And you just hammer the ignition cylinder, and it's like whoop, like, it's crazy.
Oh my God.
So there's always a resource for knowledge out there. That was a bizarre tangent, and I'm sorry, but I think that my tangent leads into a better point, that there's always a resource for knowledge out there today. There's not really an excuse to not have some kind of an estimated guess onto what you're trying to do, because the answers are in your pocket, for Christ's sake. Like, you can find almost anything.
Yeah.
I think what we were talking about before we went live on the recording, with like SEO, search engine optimization, stuff like that, marketing, research, and stuff like all this stuff keys in, right? Like, it's all just business acumen of how to get data in front of the end user, how to get a product in front of the end user, right? And you can do that nowadays in 2020. It doesn't matter what you're looking for. People are out there trying to put it in front of you, and all you have to do is, key it in, and it'll right up.
Yep.
And that's how I had to do it. Like, I did order some books, and it didn't work. And I had to do a self-assessment, which is one of the most important things that you have to do to yourself on a regular basis, And I moved over. I was like, well, I drive 45 minutes this way and back. That's an hour and a half. I looked up most of the books that I want to, like, read into, which is all business, like MBA. Like, one of my favorite CDs that I bought before I moved over to Audible was 10-Day MBA, because I'm never going to go get my MBA. I'm never going to go to college. I'm past that for me personally. I don't want to go back and attend a university. I'm already rolling with equities, and I already have a full-time job. So I'm just going to keep going on that and build on that. So I picked up a 10-day MBA book.
So going on that, do you have like
that
a
was
top
amazing.
5?
Right?
Like,
Self-assessment. I realized I needed.
no, I'm sorry. Like, going on that, I'm just curious. You said, like, that was one of your books you recommend. Like, what are your top 5, like, I want to start learning about this books or audiobooks that you recommend to people?
So the first book I recommend is my favorite book. And there's more to it than that too. This is a book that I recommend people get a hard copy. Many books can be read multiple times, and at different stages of your life will hit you in different ways. I hope that makes sense.
No,
definitely not.
absolutely.
So my favorite book is Think and Grow Rich, right, by Napoleon Hill. If you're not familiar with it, what you gain from that book is literally the title, okay? In the book, it never tells you really what the purpose of the book is. It wants you to kind of find it through the passages, but it is literally, you can grow rich by thinking your way through anything, all right? Like, you have the brain capacity to be resilient and to get around any obstacle to get to your goal, right? Because to be honest with you, there's not obstacles on a path to your goal. Like, your path is obstacles. It's always going to be tough. Success is messy, blah, 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 right? But anyways, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill is one of the most amazing books I think ever written. Napoleon Hill went around and studied the most successful people, what made them tick, right? What are the accolades that they had, and then what are the similarities and the characteristics of those people. One of my favorite people in the world historically that I latched onto as an inspiration is Andrew Carnegie. Andrew Carnegie, back in the early 1900s, really pushed forward on the industrial steel industry, became one of the most philanthropic, but also one of the richest people in American history. And he has just some of the most amazing viewpoints on, what, if you have wealth, what you should be doing with it, right? Like philanthropy, giving back, charities, estate planning, like we spoke about. So Napoleon Hill went to him and got to do, I think 4 or 5 days at his private estate, just being a journalist. And Napoleon Hill ended up getting a task from Carnegie, like, I want you to go around for the next 20 years and study all these people. And you tell me what it means, what differs between the classes and what drives people. And really, it boils down to a couple things from what I pull from it, right? That think and grow rich, right? So you have the ability to overcome any obstacle, individual drive. You can't pull motivation from other places. It has to be in you, or else it'll be fake. It'll die. If it's not in you, if you're not self-driven, time will show that you're a fraud. And then just those disciplines, right? Like that you have disciplines in, like I said, with wealth management. It's not friendly, or it's not fun in any way, right? Like you have to tax yourself. Theodore Johnson, UPS worker, 45 years, I think. He never made much money. This is early 1900s, or not 1900s, but whenever UPS started, very back in the beginning of that postal service, UPS, he taxed himself 20%. 45 years later, he had like, I don't know, man, $70 million or something, and he never made more than like 17 grand a year, but he taxed himself 20%. And he was like, what if the government put an additional 20% on me? What am I going to do? I'm going to kick, bitch, scream, but guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to fucking pay it. So he taxed himself 45 years, and this is just at the time, whatever fund manager in a mutual fund, a shit ton of funds in one basket, so you can consider yourself leveraged and diverse. 45 years later, hits $70 million. So again, it's that discipline and that self-drive that just, if you have that over time, compounding, you'll reach those places.
So,
and that is my number one book.
That's so interesting too, because I don't think that applies to just finances. I think what you just said applies to anything you want to do in life.
Everything. Absolutely,
Yeah.
man.
Like, that's how I became a photographer. Like, I didn't make money at this for 15 years, Like,
No.
but I just kept doing it over and over and over and over again until it became second nature. And I'm still trying to do that.
And
I
a lot
still
of
want to
people
learn
watch
more
out,
and get
though.
better.
well, and that's with anything you can consider an actual skill.
They'll wash out. They don't have that drive to stay there like you did.
Yeah, that is the difference. Everybody wants to do something. It's the ones that gain any notoriety or monetary value out of it are the ones that stick through the times where you're like, man, this sucks balls. Like, I really hate this,
Dude, I one time threw my camera off a balcony because I was so frustrated with my ability as a photographer and broke my camera.
Oh, well,
My only camera.
that's not a
I threw it off
surprising
a
result,
balcony.
actually, when you throw it off a balcony.
Yeah, no, but I was so
your
done. I'm
movie.
like, yeah, I was so frustrated in that moment. I'm like, I quit as a photographer and just threw it. And I'm like, I'm never going to be a photographer. And I broke it.
Yeah, and then you're looking at this broken
Yeah.
camera and you're like, damn, that's expensive as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I woke up the next day and my friend started a GoFundMe page to fix it. Got the camera fixed. It was still janky as fuck, but I
That's a
used
good
it for like
friend.
another 5 years to keep learning and become a better photographer.
So,
Let's go back in. I kind of went off on a tangent with my favorite book just because I'm so passionate about everything that you can learn from that book and all the people that are kind of involved in it. But to go back, like my second book, Seven Habits of Highly Successful People by Covey. Stephen Covey writes a bunch of good books, but 7 Habits of Highly Successful People or Highly Effective People is book number 2. Book 3 through 9, to be honest with you, pick up the Rich Dad series. Only because, like I said, mastering the basics. You don't need to dive in to hedge fund managers in the stock market and what they have to say about historical and future equity funds and stuff like that. Like, you'll get there. if you're interested in wealth management and stuff like that, or wealth growth and financial management, stuff like that, you'll find yourselves evolving into those books, right? Ray Dalio, Principles, is not a financial book. It's literally a book about principles. He is one of the most successful fund managers on Wall Street and private funds in the history of America. But I mean, then you have all the other fund managers that have, rolled through. Warren Buffett has a million. Benjamin Graham has one of the most popular books for investing. All those books will come. But if you just look for those dummy books or those basic Rich Dad Poor Dad books, they will give you that ramp to propel you into wanting to continue to go down those paths into those more novice books. So 1 through 5, it's really Think and Grow Rich, 1, Effective Habits, 2, and then the rest, once you learn about those habits, and a lot of those aren't even financial. It's about just, like you said, they cross over into so many other aspects of life. But once you kind of get a grasp on what you need to be doing for yourself, then you can roll into those simple books that'll project all the other stuff.
Thank you. So what would you? I guess how does managing wealth, growing wealth, like how does your whole perspective on that change with everything going on in the economy currently with the pandemic, the shutdowns, the things like that? What does that change?
To be honest with you, it doesn't change anything for me. And that's not even me coming from a perch where I have a job that's recession proof, because I do, and I'm very fortunate for that. I do see everything that's happening, though, from all the other perspectives, and I don't think it changes at all. I personally have 3 disciplines, and it's health, like we were saying before that I kind of started talking with you, financial acuity, right? So health, financial acuity, and schedule. None of those change in this situation. To be honest, they're even more important now because health is what this pandemic is about, right? I am one of the biggest advocates that health and wealth are much more than just one letter difference, that they have absolutely everything to do with each other, because you have to take care of your only body and your only mind to be in a positive, healthy state that wants to continue to grow, right? Both mentally, spiritually, physically, so that you have like I said, that inner self-discipline, that inner drive, that inner gumption, if you will, that lazy people don't have. That like if you don't wake out, or if you don't work out, you don't eat healthy and stuff like that, like how is somebody going to expect you to, stay disciplined in the financial aspects? Like you can't even stay disciplined in taking care of your own body, your own mind, and it's the only one you have. You'll get another $100 one day if you fuck this one up. You're never going to get another brain. So I think it matters just as much before as it does now, and I think it'll always continue to matter just as much now as it will in the future. You have to stay healthy. You have to work out. You have to eat healthy. You have to have those disciplines to where you're learning. You're growing educationally, both in finance and in whatever your niche is, right? Because again, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not telling you you need to be a financial advisor. I'm just telling you put some things in play. And then go back to what your niche is. Photography, right? Having a cactus in your kitchen. Whatever your niche is. You just do that.
That's all Javin does. Is just like plant cactuses around the house regularly.
Yeah, outside of filming this on Saturday, I have no other responsibilities. I move him around sometimes, and that's a whole day.
And that may survive. Yeah, you don't even have to do much to take care of that.
Yeah, he's just
no, you literally don't have to do anything to take care of that.
He's not even
it's
real.
Not real.
Yeah, but I mean, Javin, I miss you. I do have to come out to Colorado. I haven't seen you in a while. This is a segue for everybody who's watching. I do have to come visit you. There's other people I need to see in Colorado too. Kate Pate, if you guys aren't following Kate Pate, doc.pate, P-A-T-E, on Instagram. She's a neurophysiologist, if I said that right. I've been drinking.
She's got a lot of
extremely impressive. She writes for Die Living, which is associated with Softly. She's a CEO, combat trauma medicine, all types of stuff. Extremely impressive individual. She's in Golden, and I'm drinking Blue Moon. Jinx. So I do need to make a trip out to Colorado and see you, man, and your cactuses.
You do. You do need to come
but no,
out here.
that's the pandemic. So it's super unfortunate, but nothing changes, right? If you want to talk about the stock market, like, awesome. If Tesla tanked and you bought into Tesla and now it's kicking ass and you just doubled your money, right? If you made a move like that, great. I get phone calls all the time from people that I served with that see me doing well now, asking me what stock to buy. I'm not that guy. Like, I'm not going to give you your next big tip because it's not a thing. Like, I could either ruin your fucking life or we can get lucky, you know? But there's basics and fundamentals that you can apply that over time, compounding will let you retire and leave estate planning for your children. That's something I'll talk with you about all day. And you're not going to be able to do that or stay faithful to it if you can't stay faithful to your own person, your own body. So I don't see how the pandemic looks any of this.
Well, you know what's funny is, one, I come from a biology background, and if we have Peaches on, it's always a conversation between biology and sociology. But when you say, like, you need to take care of your body, how can I expect you to have the discipline and stuff for, like, anything else in your life? It catches my ear because in biology, it's like a signal to the other groups. You know, like, your fitness level is actually a signal to other people in your tribe that you're trustworthy because you can accomplish at least this. If you can maintain your body, you're at least trustworthy enough to accomplish that, which gives you a little bit more leverage in the social, you know, value system. So it's just interesting to say from a biology point of view, like what you just said makes complete sense too.
So what you're saying is
honest,
get yoked and you'll make money.
When you said society and other people see that, another part of that too, it's not just your body, man, it's your mind, right? I used to laugh at yoga. I do yoga now, but I do it. Spiritual, mental, that stuff really, really matters, man. Being a disabled veteran, going through traumatic experiences and stuff like that, you know, I'm 30 years old and I am broken, right? To some degree or some labelization, right? So your mind is extremely important, right? It's more important than your body, to be honest with you. And that's something you need to stay fit with as well. Whether it's yoga, spirituality, you know, just enduring and resilience training, all of those things that can help you. But even more, you then key to how other people see you. That is something that's also extremely important. I put that really into my health category as well, because where you focus your attention also has much to do with who you become, right? Because we're not our words, we are our actions, right? Like, I don't really care what you talk about. I want to see what you do on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. And what that means is you're influenced by the people that you surround yourself by and who you pay attention to. That is a huge part of that fitness as well, right? If you say you're going to be a doctor, but you just lay on your couch all day and you have junkie friends in your living room that are just doping up, I don't believe you. Like, you're not showing me anything, right? You're just a junkie. But if you show me that you're going to get your PhD, you're going to class, you're waking up before class, going on a 4-mile run, getting in, you know, like I do my books to and from work. If you do that to and from class or whatever, like, you are showing me that you are fit and disciplined in multiple areas of life. And that is what's important.
You know, you say that, and I definitely packed on some pounds over the last year, but I've definitely recently surrounded myself with Jason Javin and trying to mountain bike and get back to my, like, lean self. And so, like, that idea that you just said, I'm like, I'm tired of feeling this way, so I'm going to go and push myself with Jason Javin. Can I keep up with them? No. But I'm going to try until one day I can.
Well, and that's to add on to that. That's almost in and of itself, like, I don't know if I'd say. Well, yeah, it's more impressive because you have at one point in your life had that fit, disciplined routine, and you know you've gotten out of it. And that's I would say it's actually harder to get back into a routine than it is to establish it the first time, because you've already been in that state of, like, I know what this feels like. And that, like, the pursuit of it the second time, I feel like I don't know, it's almost even more rewarding, because I've definitely like been there where I've let myself like, I mean, for instance, when I got out of the Army, I didn't run for like 3 months. And then I was like, I should run again. And I ran like 2 miles, and I was like, I'm going to fucking puke all over myself. I hate myself. This is terrible, you know? Like it's that discipline to really get back into it. But once you reach that threshold again, or even surpass where you were before, there's nothing better than that.
So I have a question then too, because I think everyone can say to an extent that they've had a moment in their life, or maybe several moments, where you were disciplined and you fell out of it for whatever reason. We don't need to go into specifics, but everyone's had that, right? So it's easy to just be like, you just got to do it again. But the problem is if you have no accountability. So like, what do you do? So Alex, he's been hanging out with Jav and Jace, and they're his accountability partners now. To make
my
sure
accountability buddies.
Accountability buddies. To keep pushing him to be the better him, right?
I need to write that down. What did you say? Accountability buddies?
Yeah.
Accountability buddies. Coming to Nick Jr. this spring.
And I think that not only with physical health and mental health, but I think also with your passions in life, you need some accountability with everything. So for me, Alex is my accountability partner a lot for like creative thinking. He always pushes me to think about the weirdest things, and when he does all these crazy exercises where I'm like, what the hell is this? But then it ends up being fun, and then you get all excited and jazzed about it, and then you're like kind of revitalized. So you need to find that with every source of your life, really.
Well, no, that was funny because the first podcast we did, that road trip down to the Springs and back was basically a giant exercise in creative thinking for you.
Yep. And I remember mentally so tired.
When you came down here to record for the first time?
Huh?
When you came down here to record for the first time?
Yeah.
Was that the same time Jace made you play that board game? I'm so sorry.
That big board game.
Man, what a night for you.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, and accountability is huge, man. I think what's important is that you have a group, and we're clearly still on the topic here of where you put your attention, right? Where you're allowing your mind to be focused on, right? Which is very much health. Having a group of people that maintain a high standard of accountability for each other will always be healthy. You have to figure out a way to ensure that you're going to be able to continue that accountability for yourself, though. Like, you have to have drive inside.
Yeah.
You know, because again, time will weed out the frauds for the people who aren't driven, actually have the gumption to put in the labor that's required to get to the places that they want to be in life. You know, so it's a balance of both. You have to have it in you in order to be the person that's going to motivate somebody else in a very natural and true way, right? Instead of just being some fake ass bumper sticker. And you also, and that's for you and for your friends. And you need to surround yourself by people that have the same thing, the same compassion and care for you, where it's derived from the same passion and discipline that they have in them for themselves. Yeah. So it very much keys into those people, you know, that you surround yourself by, that you pay attention to, and stuff like that. You know, like right now, I'm wearing a Hunter 7 t-shirt. This is another shout out. If you guys don't know about the Hunter 7 Foundation, it's a huge movement that I love to pay attention to. I love the people that are in it. They go through and they do medical research, and they help all the different types of toxic exposures that veterans and active duty people go through and what happens to them after, right? Like I don't watch basketball where I'm just watching other rich people bounce a ball around. Like on my free time, I'm looking up and I'm trying to be in contact with and promote other people to see people like Hunter 7 Foundation who are doing amazing things in their space. Regardless of what other people think about them, they're not stopping. You can't stop that force. They're going to continue to move and do amazing things in regards to all that medical research that's required for us to become better, right? All that drives from within them. Like, there's no external motivation there. It's all internal. And those are the type of people that if you focus on, right, you become driven yourself. You know, you surround yourself by motivated people, people who care about your personal development, your personal growth, your financial growth, your asset allocation, stuff like that. So you can leave your kids millions of dollars in estate planning and stuff like that. They don't want to see you going out blowing your money. They don't want to see you pound a Papa John's 17-inch pizza after you haven't ran for 7 years. Like, those are the people that if you surround yourself by, it's all going to buff out, bro.
You know, it's funny. I think we're so blessed with our little group of the second string debate team that every one of us is looking out for each one, like each another.
I would
You know
say,
what I mean? in our own separate ways, you know.
yeah, no,
And, like, we got each other's backs, and we're lucky enough to have that.
well, and I know that Jason and I talk about it a lot, but like this group, as far as, you know, there's 2 photographers, a videographer, a writer, like everybody brings something to the group that is creative in nature, and that fact that we can all feed off of that, I think, is what gives such a nice dynamic to this, if you will.
Right.
Yeah, man, you got to have a tribe.
You do.
That tribe's got to be strong.
Tribe strong. Yeah, you got to have a cactus tribe. If you don't have a cactus tribe, I don't really know what you're doing. Like, that's what it's about.
Cactus at Walmart. So I have to have plants I don't have to water. It's kind of guy I am.
Yeah, I mean, if you get a cactus that's entirely fake, you don't have to water that either.
Y'all need to step up and get an alien pet alien.
Well, then your fish,
The water itself.
it waters
Exactly.
itself. Oh, man.
I water myself.
Oh, do you? Oh, as he takes a sip of Blue Moon, that was nice product placement. Hey, Blue
So
Moon,
that's-
sponsor
that's
us.
what we've been talking
Sponsor
about.
us, Blue Moon.
I want
Thank
to
you.
kind of, yeah, hashtag. I want to kind of just go over it real quick with you, because having the drive, like you said, is number one. You have to have that drive inside of you, and in your words,
Absolutely.
otherwise it'll fizzle out and you'll be exposed as a fraud, right?
For sure.
So first thing, obviously, is to have the drive and to discover your drive for what you need, right? And then
Yep.
I would think that number 2 would be to find your accountability tribe that maybe have similar drives, maybe not in the same area, but at least a similar drive in their own area that they could be like, hey, this
Absolutely.
works for me, right?
Yep.
So what happens if like you have a friend group that doesn't have the same drive, and you're worried that you kind of have to maybe choose like hanging out with them,
Cut them out to a certain degree. And it's so bitter to say. You have to
Yeah.
cut them out to a certain degree. I hate to
Exactly.
say it.
Yeah,
I'm not saying write them off because you have history and you care about the people, but you literally are who you surround yourself by. And you
Yeah.
are your actions. You're not your words. Like, you sit around and smoke pot in a fucking circle jerk all day and talk about aspirations but never do it, right? And then you want to separate and really go do it, but the other people still want to stay in the peace pipe circle, right?
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
to have the fortitude to step away. And that's hard. It really is. I know it just sounds like me saying cut them off. It's super hard to do. Don't
Yeah.
cut them off completely, but
Yeah.
limit their time that you give them to allow yourself to add time to your calendar to go do the things that you need to do in order to get to the places that you want to get. Because I'll tell you right now, not just the lyrics from Pink Floyd's song Time, but before you know it, 10 years are going to creep up behind you, man. Like, and it's just a decade later. Like, time
Yeah.
doesn't stop. You don't want to have a life full of regrets. And if people don't accept that, then they're not the people that should be in your tribe in the first place, man.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I've definitely had my experience with having to deal with that through my life, where, you know, friends that I got along with for a long time, we started just having different opinions and different goals and aspirations, right? And I've started to realize that too, where I'm like, I just don't enjoy their company as much, as sad as that sounds, like, because they give off
It's
that
not
energy
sad.
all the time, you know what I mean? It's like,
It's life, dude.
yeah,
It
it's,
happens.
yeah, exactly.
Well,
And that's how you-
I've had
we
that,
all-
and then your friends, when you do see them after 6 months or whatever, or however long it's been, then they always guilt you. They're like, "Why don't you hang out anymore?" You know.
Yeah.
It's like maybe you don't know the reason at first, but
You
you can't be like,
honest as hell.
you guys are bringing me down. Like, you're holding me back.
That's why you
honest as hell.
came into the group. You were like, "Oh, this is so refreshing. I need to be a part of this."
Yes.
So
Well, I like what you
Go ahead,
bring up though,
sorry.
Tony. Like you said, when it comes to people like that, you cut them off to a certain degree, which I think is important because, I think a lot of people have either or mindset where you either are like, man, fuck that person, I can't be around him anymore, or you're like still teetering on like, oh, I just want to, I want to have what we had before. Because I think that's a lot of what that is. People grow apart, and it's natural. It's natural for people to grow apart. It's not natural for people to recognize that. But like I've had tons of friends that we may just have taken a different path, or I kind of see them becoming complacent or something like that. And it doesn't mean that I don't ever see them, but like you said, to a certain degree, like, am I going to go over there if I have the time and I'm, and I like it, well, that's it. Like I have the time and I want to see them and we want to be together, then yeah, we'll have a great time, but it might not be like this together all the time friendship that we may have had 2-3 years ago. Like it's just, there's a certain degree of
cutting into your
growth. Yeah. And I feel like that's always misconstrued as offensive on the other end, and that's kind of like a tragedy, I guess, of just being a human, because like you never recognize that evenly, because people
And that's why I said you
need
need to be completely honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
With the reason. There's no
What
reason not to
about-
be.
And I think that, it's weird because once you have that mindset, once you've realized like, oh, maybe I need to cut this person out of my life for a little bit, or like more space, then when someone else does it to you, it's almost like a red flag to yourself, where you're like, hold on a second, why is this person like kind of backing off from me? Is it something that I need to reassess in myself, or is it something else? And then weirdly, I feel like now that I've kind of like come to that realization a couple years ago, when I do have friends that are like backing off and need some space, that's like a sign to me to like, hey, am I falling into an old habit, or is there something else here at work? And like, I don't get upset about it now if someone doesn't
Or is it not
like,
about you
want
at
to
all?
talk to me as much.
Or does it have nothing to do with you at all, and they just
Yeah,
need to carve out
exactly.
more time in their calendar to go after their aspirations? And that's something that I wanted to key in as well, is when we were saying, earlier when you were talking about finding out that some of your friends have different aspirations, right? So it's okay if people have different aspirations. It's okay if you want to be a doctor but somebody else wants to be a vet tech. Like, those different paths don't mean, we're not compatible anymore.
yeah.
Like, you should always, in a very empathetic way, want everybody around you to grow towards the passions that drive them and make them just light up, right? Whatever makes somebody light up. I'm more talking about the people that are just lethargic, lazy, and are going to be completely happy on welfare their whole life, right? Or whatever the case may be, to where that lifestyle that they have is starting to hinder the lifestyle you want. That's where you need to limit people and step away and say, I love you. I still want to see you as much as I can in this aspect, but I need this availability in my calendar to go be the person I'm going to be, so that when my deathbed comes, I'm happy and not regretful, right? So there's that balance you have to understand there, that everybody's on their own path, and you need to have empathy for that and love them and support them, no matter what that's going to be or what that path looks like, because happiness is the only thing you should ever wish on anybody. And people can be happy making $60,000 a year for the rest of their life, never wanting kids or to leave estate planning or something like that, and that's fine, because that's what makes them happy, and that is what you should love. Don't force your opinions or force your goals on anybody, or force like what pipeline you think that they should freaking take. That's their journey. It's their life. So there's a fine line in understanding those two things about, people being on a different path than me and stuff like that, and people holding me back.
Well,
Right.
I think that's kind of what I was getting at, is like, people grow differently, like you might have the aspirations to, as you said, like be a doctor or whatever, but you might have that friend that, for a lack of better terms, just a late bloomer. He might sit on the couch for several years and smoke pot before he figures out like exactly, what his direction is.
Working at a gas station.
Yeah. And that is true too. Like, you can never take that away. There are some people out there that fucking love working at Conoco. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's not a goddamn thing wrong with that.
And you guys have to laugh when you go rock climbing together and stuff like that. He's a great friend to have, and he supports you and stuff like that. Yeah. And that's what I'm talking about, that separation. It's not about wealth and stuff like that. And so that's mainly when I came into this and I was talking about health and wealth. It's about health. These are all health things. That man is very healthy in the lifestyle that he has chose that he has. You know what I mean? And you need to support that. Because he's still going to be a good friend to you, even though he works a cash register at a gas station. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's what he wants to do.
Yeah, that's his life.
I mean, as a friend, you can get him into trying to figure out how to own his own gas station so that, you can help him on the financial side and stuff like that. But you never have to push your opinion or cut somebody off because of their path unless it's holding you back.
That would be a really good ending to an Adam Sandler movie where, like, he kind of makes it big and he gets his homie to, like, own the gas station that he used to work at. That's what I saw in my head when you said that.
Kind of sounds like a Clerks rendition.
Clerks, the reboot, because that'll happen.
Yeah.
So I have two questions for you. So one, I'll just do this one first and then I'll see the other one later. So do you think being in the military has helped you with that discipline that you're talking about, like with the financial realms, in terms of doing like the not sexy fun stuff that you need to do because the military kind of beats that into you? Or do you think you had that before you went into the military?
Absolutely not. I didn't have shit before I went into the military. I was a fucking little... So for people who don't know me, I'm 5 foot, negative 82 inches, right? I'm 5'5", 170 pounds. When I joined the military, I was 5'5", like 17 pounds, soaking wet, just this little fucking kid who moved out of my house when I was 15. I was so fucking stupid. I had nothing going for me. I was raised by the military. I was whipped into condition for standards, discipline, accountability, all that type of shit. Unfortunately, I spent a lot of my career in special operations, which is like super relaxed, like, what's up, homie, kind of fucking lifestyle versus like, prim and proper, oh, yes, sir, So that kind of tainted me. So when I did spend time in the big army, I was kind of like that laid back chill guy. And that's kind of contradictory because I said I had that discipline, but in some aspects, like a Marine, you think of a Marine just like super lock type discipline. But ethics, morality, stuff like that, like the discipline got instilled to me all through the military. Mastery in the fundamentals, mastery in the basics. That stuff all came from the military for sure. If you look at the military, right? So like I said, my 3 disciplines are health, finance, and schedule. When it comes to health and welfare, or health and wealth, if you will.
Health and welfare, fuck you.
Look at what the military does. Look at what the military does, right? If you're a leader in the military, you wake up before the rest of society is awake, like 4 o'clock, 4:30 in the morning, and you go to do your little leader huddle, and you talk about the things that you need to accomplish today and throughout the week, right? And then once that's all done and everybody understands what their tasks are, what their priorities are, who owns what piece of it, complete 100% undeniable extreme ownership, right, of your tasks. All those things get wrapped up into a meeting, and then everybody goes and does fitness. And by the time you're done with fitness, right, now we're talking about our health, taking care of our body. It's the only one we have. We need it to be tip-top in order to be able to drive through all these harsh conditions that we're put into. Thank you, Uncle Sam. By the time all that's over, now it's 8 o'clock in the morning, and all that's wrapped up, right? You have your schedule knocked out, what you need to do, even after today. Everybody that's under you, their responsibilities, your fitness is knocked out. All those core things that really have to do with all this stuff. And people are still waking up and brushing their teeth. So yes, the military has 100% driven all of this into me. And I'm so thankful that I chose that path. Now as a civilian, I see people who are older than me that don't have this. And it's hard for me to connect with them. I'm very, very understanding of that situation and the different paths that we have taken. I guess really all it affects is just me not listening to their fucking excuses. You know what I mean? But I very much owe all of that to the military for sure.
If I can add anything onto that, though, I think that the discipline from the military, a large percentage of it comes from the because everything you said is true. You go to your leader huddles, you have the meetings, you have the tasks, but it's just the ridiculous nature of the workflow of the day that you become disciplined. You become disciplined to chaos, where like there's so much structure, but there's absolutely no structure at the same time. Like you'll be doing exactly as you were told, and somebody else that was in another meeting will be like, "What in the fuck are you doing?" And you'll be like, "I don't know." And they'll be like, "No, go the other way." And you're like, "Okay, this way." And it's just like you adapt to this like nonsense, this chaos that it doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. Like if any like grocery store ran like the army, everyone would quit. They'd be like, "This is fucking crazy. Goodbye." Like I have no idea what's going on. But I think that's what it is. You learn to just adapt to like some of the most ridiculous shit.
But I think that's a important skill to have.
No, it is.
Sure.
It is. It is.
That ability
It is
to quickly
absolutely
adapt, pivot, and
Yeah.
like, all right, new goal. Let's do that now. Because that's life.
No, it is.
Resilience,
Yeah.
flexibility, so important for sure. So important to have resilience and flexibility. I mean, I kind of connect it to being a project manager in the civilian world. You know, like if you have to be in charge of 12 different people that all work in different departments, and to get them to do their job, it's still like bringing cats together, herding cats or whatever they call it. It's a nightmare. But on the civilian side of the house too, it's very evident. Success is messy. Behind the curtain, how the job gets done is never how it's written on the drawing board. Like shit goes sour immediately, and then you just have to compile all this crap back into what it's supposed to be, and you'll be successful, and the customer or whatever will be happy, but they have no idea of what circus you just jumped through. And the military is very much like, completely.
Well, yeah,
That's
that's
100% production life too. Like me and Seth
Yeah,
both
for
know this.
sure.
Like you set out, you have your pre-production meeting in the morning. Like these are the shots we need to get, and we're going to do this, and this is how much time we have for it. And it's like you start day 10 minutes in, it's like, oh shit, that light burned out. Like, oh, we got to go replace that light.
Yeah.
It's just like a bunch of randomness that happens throughout the day, and somehow you have to compile like 8 people together to get this one thing done, and it's never how it was planned.
well, and I mean, basically,
It never will be.
anything that's important has that end goal, and as long as you establish the end goal, all the chaos and all the other like unsightly shit that happened outside of that doesn't matter as long as that point is done. Like you can have an entire like mountain of trash burning behind you, but as long as you have done what you were supposed to, you're like, forget about all that. Look at this. This is done.
That's like weirdly, that's my favorite part of the production life is like those on-set moments. Like I almost thrive in like mild chaos. Like somehow chaos actually focuses my mind more. I don't know why, but it works.
Not me. I'm
That's
bad
good.
under pressure.
Ah!
Yeah.
It's good
I
you
can
surround
just
yourself
feel
with people who are good. So that's where that tribe comes into play. If you're bad under pressure, having people around you that are good under pressure to help kind of level you out, kind of, get your shit together, that's a very, very big aspect of having that strong tribe. So, I mean, you should be very grateful for that. And it's also great that your tribe knows your honesty in those situations that you're not good under pressure too. It's just that going back to that honest. There's no reason to be anything but honest with everybody in every situation, because if you're not, you're becoming a liability, and you never want to be a liability. You always want to be an asset. You can't be an asset unless you're 100% honest in every situation, so that the rest of the team knows where they have to pick up the slack or where they can let a little slack go because you got them. And the reality is there are many situations where you have them in situations that they're, in that, like where you're not good under stress, they're not good under something else where you are. So that's why honesty is so important there. But back to that Army thing too is, like one of the things that's unseen too is I think I said earlier, if I didn't, like, the path to success is messy, but it's also like there's not obstacles on the path. The path is obstacles. It's 100% obstacles. And it kind of goes in line with, success is messy. But also with that whole discipline and military thing, being in the military is not fun like people think it is. Like, you have to do maintenance on vehicles every Monday. And, like, there's a lot of tasks that people don't understand. I know people who joined the military far after me, right? I did logistics in the military, right? I spent a lot of time with cool guys. I'm not a cool guy. I got to do a lot of cool guy training. I understand how to take care of myself and survive in a lot of situations, but I'm no badass Ranger SF guy. I was a logistical non-commissioned officer who managed, like, the business, the B2B kind of stuff. The logistics on the outside is like transportation, but like the property management, all that kind of stuff in the military, that was me. I was very much the suit and tie, prim and proper of the military, right? I've had many people who joined the military after me. It's like, I want to be an 11 Bravo. And it's like, well, then you want to push a fucking lawnmower. Because if you're not in Iraq, there's no war to be had, right? You're not out there training. And unless you go into the special operation community that has the type of funds to put you through courses and keep you engaged, like, you don't know what being infantry is. And I'm trying to tell you that it's not what you think it is. Because you're not just fighting war in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and training to kill Charlie 24/7. Like, the military has so many other tasks that are involved, details, places that need to be cleaned and trimmed, and because you have to keep that military prim and proper look. Like, who do you think the Army's paying gardeners? No, homie, that's you doing it. So, like, there's a lot to the military that people don't know about.
If this is a recruiter's worst nightmare right there. It's like somebody that's like oh man, like
those things are important, man. Those things are very important. You have to take pride in the fact that, like, you're not going to see success without understanding what that crap looks like.
There's a
You can't
layer.
just become
There's a layer and a
You've never been
level of bullshit to everything. Like, you're a scrub at every level at some point. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that is something that's really instilled in you as well. Is like, at one point, like, you're the lowest of the low. You suck. Like, there's nothing, like, you just gotta get better. You know?
What's up, bro?
That's part of you ran down your mama's ass crack and ended up as a stain on the mattress, maggot.
Yeah,
Like, it's true.
oh, why are you talking to me like that? That's crazy.
No, that was my internship with my first commercial studio. Was like, I'd show up and I was just so hungry to learn. But at the same time, like, I didn't get to play with the camera. I didn't get to play with the lights. Like, no, you're going to paint that psych wall and you're going to mop the floor every other day. And if we don't have anything to do, well, you're going to mop the floor twice today.
Well, and I think that's something.
That's what it was.
Because they're paying you.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's something too that, like, there's a misconstrued notion about, like, photographers, artists, things like that. Like, when you're entering in that realm too, like, those people are fucking ruthless, man. Like, the way they treat their interns, the way they talk to people and shit, you're like, God damn, bro. Like, and it's just funny. Like, that should never be, like, taken for granted. That period in your life where you really, like, eat shit and you're just like, man, I am scraping the bottom of the barrel right now. Like, this is terrible. Like, that is some of the best learning about yourself you'll ever have, I suppose, because, like, how much of that can you endure to get to where you want to be?
But I'm like, I'm
You have to know how much you can.
photography, but I'm not like, you were witness to this. Like, Jace, here's a really heavy backpack and a bunch of heavy shit. Carry it to the top of the mountain to get your shot. Okay, we're up here. Time to set everything up. Like, it's your job. Like, yes, I could help, but it doesn't teach you anything. You know what I mean? Like, there's a reason to do that. It's like, so, okay, if you're an assistant for me on an actual production, I need you to know what parts are what and what they do and how to set them up.
Yeah.
Like, that's why you do it.
Well, in almost all aspects of life, I think that, and I say almost all aspects of life because there's definitely some wiggle room with this, but, like, the frying pan to the fire analogy is one of the best ways to learn. Like, I mean, when you really just get thrust into a situation and you have to do what you were basically taught, like, if there is room for error, if it is a time like an actual learning experience, there's nothing better than that. And that's why I say there's wiggle room. There's tons of situations where you actually don't want to be like, I'm not a firefighter and now I'm fighting a fire. This is fucking terrifying, you know?
It's not a military thing too, and I think that's something that a lot of veterans and military dudes like to key on. That like, oh, we went through some harsh ass training. Like, it doesn't matter what your walk of life is. The drive, that commitment, that not giving up, that grind, that hustle, that fucking getting dirty has to be in you. You have to learn it. You have to get past it. You know what I mean? So that it's just back to the fundamentals where you get it. It's got to get done in order for you to be successful. Like, one of the things I think drives this home, right, is like people think veterans are like these hardcore badass, or even military dudes, these badass dudes. Like, oh, these dudes are fucking carrying big ass backpacks up the Afghan mountains. We were bitching the whole time. We're not some hardcore Iron Man. This is easy. Like, we're all fucking crying. I want to be home. That bitch and fed those pussies sounds great right now.
Jesus Christ.
Like, trust me, she could take all my housing allowance. We are not crazy, awesome people at all. You should cut this out for viewers. But the point is, like, it doesn't matter what your walk of life is. Like, going back to the beginning of this podcast, you have to have that inner drive and that gumption to know what needs to be done. And then if it's not done, you're not going to be successful. So, like, you can bitch the whole time if you want, or whatever the case may be. But if you can't get it done, then you can't blame anybody else for your failure except you. Yeah. Right? Because it's on you. There's no backup coming for your success.
Oh.
But that being said, is there also, do you think there's also like a positive to that, the idea of failing, to not succeeding in something?
For sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Unless you give up. Because here's the thing, man. You're never going to get where you're going on your first try. You have to understand that failure is just attempt one. It's back to the drawing board. It's not, let's try something different. Like, you're never going to get there on your first attempt. Like, I mean, I'm going to keep driving home successes. Let's just say success.
We're talking about sex now. Welcome to this episode.
Podcast 14.
Episode 14. We're talking about sex now.
There are so many failures along that path. Like, you have to keep attacking it. If something goes wrong and you don't get it, you just have to figure out what went wrong and tweak that. Like, failure is the most important part of success. You can't have success if you don't have failure, you know? I don't know one person that's nailed it out of the fucking park on their first swing. And if they did, that's called beginner's luck. Throw them another couple pitches and watch them stuff ass, right? Like,
yeah.
You have to fail, for sure, absolutely. But you also have to understand that you can take failure and see it as just an attempt. You can't have that quit. It all goes back to that drive. Like, if you want something through and through, a simple failure or attempt, not landing, you know, like when you're talking about marketing, right? Like not pulling enough people to your landing page or whatever the case may be, or like all of those things, like you don't just throw in the towel, because if you do, you're going to get there. You have to reassess that situation and attack it differently to figure out how you're going to get through that obstacle. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And this is just a throwback to our last podcast, but we were talking about, like, you know, I learned something a while back that really resonated with me, and it sounds like super, like, Buddhist or something, but the idea is the key to happiness is not the goal. The key to happiness is the process. And when you're talking about, like, the path isn't, like, just like, the path is all obstacles. And, like, I found this time and time again in my life is, like, I'm actually most happy when I'm fulfilling the process. The goal is just what keeps me on track. But that process itself is where you actually have fun and you're happy.
I thought you were going to say fulfilling the prophecy
because
for a moment.
Because that's where you find people that are 70.
No, go ahead. No, I thought Alex was going to say fulfilling the prophecy, and I was like, hold on, what? All you just said went to crazy town. We need to address this real quick. But no, your point was great because you didn't say prophecy.
But that's what's amazing, because that's when you find people who are like 60 and 70 still being CEOs and CFOs and COOs of companies that they've either created or like they've already let flourish and moved on to another aspiration or another project that they've built. And they're just like geriatric as fuck still working because they love what they do on a day-to-day and they're not already trying to get somewhere. Like the COO and I'm sorry, we don't even have a COO. The CFO and CEO of my company that I work for right now, I work for LC Industries. We're the largest employer of blind people in America. We're also the largest we're the largest producer of products made by blind people that have been successfully sold because obviously everything's calculated by sales, right? We have the most sales for Ability One, which is the program, Ability One Skillcraft products, which are things that are made by blind people in the world. We are the number one leader.
Wow.
A lot of the people that I work with in that facet don't need to work, but they show up every day. Like these dudes are so successful. Like their paychecks are disgusting. Oh, I love it. They don't need to work though at all, but they continue to do it because of the value that they add and the love that they have for overcoming those obstacles required to just see that growth and to see people all the way down on the manufacturing floor that are working for very low paychecks and stuff like that, to see them and help them find their passions. Like, you know what I mean? And that passion that you have in those obstacles is so key because who you're going to be 40 years from now is still going to latch on to those passionate things that you have now, just in a completely different level, like a different echelon. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
So important. And it's amazing that you have that and that you have that.
It is. I think it's really important, and it's just, it's almost like you could say it this way. It's like you could have, your passion could be as simple as having a passion to grow and to push yourself.
That's my passion.
You know what I mean? Yeah,
That's
exactly.
my passion.
Yeah, and
That
so
is it.
if you don't have
I'm
a
never
certain
happy.
niche or whatever, like if you're just like, I just want to know more about whatever I'm talking about or whatever,
Yeah.
and you just want to be able to push yourself to the limit and then see how far past your limit you can go every time.
I'm never happy with where I am.
Yep.
That's exactly what you're talking about.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm always happy in the moment. I love, you have to understand how to enjoy the moment you're in, or else you'll never be happy. But I'm never happy with where I am because it's never the limit. Exactly what you're saying. That's my passion. Like, here's where I am now. Where can I get tomorrow?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
And everybody has that.
Well,
You have it too. You might not key into it, right? But like once you succeed with something, you're going to say, okay, well, I got that under my belt. Well, how can I leverage this now into the next, whatever that is?
Well, and I think that's how you find out what you're, I think the word passionate is used incorrectly a lot. And I think that's really the only gauge for something that you are passionate about, because you reach something that you may have thought was the precipice of whatever. And you have that next, like, okay, now I want to do this. Now I want to do this. It's if the end goal is never good enough, that's probably what you're passionate about.
Yeah.
But I think there's a point too where passion isn't enough. There's actually something even more to it than that. And I don't know what that is. Well, no. So my example is when I threw the camera off the deck, right? Like,
I feel like that was pretty passionate.
That wasn't passion. That was frustration. That's what it was.
Yeah.
But it made me like, I don't know what it is, but like, I couldn't afford better camera equipment to do what I wanted to do and what I knew how to do. And I just couldn't, in that moment, I couldn't see a way to building up to what I wanted to be and what I wanted to accomplish. And so I legitimately threw it out of frustration, and in my mind, I quit photography. I was like, I'm done. I'm done trying this. I've been doing this for 10 years. It's not getting any better. And I would say I actually lost passion for my photography.
But don't you think that frustration
for a while? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was frustration, but I don't know what made, I honestly can't remember what made me pick up my camera again. You know what I mean?
Well, you said your friend did a GoFundMe for your gear to get fixed, right?
Yeah.
Do you think it was something about, maybe he was like, yeah, you shouldn't quit, man?
I believe in you.
Yeah.
cheering you on. You know what I mean?
No, I get that.
But you need
And
accountability.
well, I was happy I got my camera fixed, but it was still like probably another year after that before I even tried to take any real type of photos. Like, I legitimately quit photography. Like, in my head, I was just like, I'm done. I didn't really touch my camera. I didn't really pick it up. Wasn't practicing it. And honestly, like, there wasn't a moment in my head where I'm like, I'm going to try this again. I don't remember how I even got back into trying it again.
Yeah, but don't you think that that frustration that you experienced was derivative of the passion to be a better photographer? So like the passion is always kind of driving it to some degree, because if you weren't passionate about it, you would have never got frustrated enough to throw your fucking camera off the balcony. I feel like.
Good point.
True. I do remember in that time
And
where
if it wasn't
I
a
was,
deep love, right, you would take it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but to me, there just wasn't this like moment where I was like, the passion's back. You know, like I don't remember.
It's back,
that
baby.
moment. It was just something in me just like at some point picked up the camera and started creating stuff again. I don't know what it was. I can't say it was
It never
passion.
left.
I was
Yeah, maybe it
I
never
think it
left.
was. It never
You
left.
needed to take a step back, and you just subconsciously didn't know. But maybe your mind was just like, hey, we just need to take a break. We'll come back to it.
Yeah, possibly.
Life worked
Who knows?
man.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think taking a break from, I mean, to keep using the word again, but when you take breaks from something that you are passionate about, like when you get so frustrated that you throw something, or like writer's block, or whatever the scenario might be, like those breaks are necessary, because sometimes you focus so much energy and time onto something that you burn yourself out, because the ideas you come up with when you burned out are redundant. You don't like them, you know? And that's the main thing too. I think when you start realizing that you don't like your work or the quality of your work, it's probably time to take a little break. Because if you're like, if you feel like you're giving it the effort, but it's not reciprocating, then you're probably burnt out.
True.
Ooh, burnout.
True.
Yeah.
You're a burnout, man.
For sure.
That's scary.
I'm gonna have to cut you off a little bit in my life, just a little bit, not completely.
You hippie burnout. Well, I think what'd you say? You could give us about an hour and a half. I think we've taken a lot more of your time, but I do appreciate you being here today. Is there anything you wanted to talk about that we didn't really touch on today? Any things you wanted to get off your chest? You know, speak now, forever hold your peace, kind of thing.
I mean, we kind of went over a lot of it, mixed into some just, good conversation. It wasn't really a data dump for people, which, naturally podcasts aren't, and they shouldn't be. But I think most of it got taken care of, man. If I could broadcast anything to anybody, it would be to have disciplines in your life. And I personally think that health, mental and physical, completely, create a launching pad for wealth. It just creates something, it instills something in you that allows you to have that gumption to get out there and do the fundamental tasks that you need to in order to create wealth for you and your next generations. There is no magic button. You need to get out there. You need to learn how mutual funds work. You need to learn how taxes work. Okay, taxes are actually a reward program. Okay, you work a 9 to 5, and you're bitching about your taxes. Well, you're not doing anything to stimulate the economy. You're just going and punching in a clock and taking your money and leaving. So the fact that you're paying taxes and you don't like that you don't get any tax breaks or anything like that is your fault. Okay, if you had real estate where you are housing people and all of the other different examples I can give you that create tax cuts for you so you can actually gather more of your wealth without having to give it back, that's education you need to learn on, right? Tax law, you need to learn that stuff. There's no magic bullet, all right? You got to get out there, you got to do it. You got to tax yourself and put that into mutual funds and put it into portfolios that are going to grow your wealth for you and the next generations of your kin. You have to pay attention to who you're giving your attention to. Okay? You are who you surround yourself with. You are not what you speak about. You are your actions. Okay? Like those things just go like through and through to everything in life. You have to stop commingling funds. Set your financials up to where you get your money in account. You know exactly what your so an income statement. Income statement is everything you make and all your deductibles and stuff like that. There's income statements and balance sheets. Those are two main banking statements that you need to know as an individual or an organization. As an individual, you should do those yourselves. This is the data dump portion. We kind of turned into a data dump. You need to know how to manage your funds. So take all the money that you make into one account and then divvy it up. All your bills, you need to know what the total of your bills is. And you should have that amount going into a separate account that all your bills get pulled from, so that all your spending money goes into a different account and your bills and your spending money never get mixed up. So you know what you have to spend, and that should be what's ever left from your bills plus what you're going to tax yourself so that you can start investing and creating that wealth and let it compound over time, because time is the only thing that you have to play in your favor. Other than that, your schedule. Make sure you have a healthy schedule. You need to wake up. You need to work out. You need to get in whatever education you need to get into, whatever type of attention to any societies or groups that you belong to. You need to give them that. You need to make sure that whatever your employer requires of you, you're giving them that plus a little bit, okay? One of the things you need to know is that if you do your duty and a little more, everything else will fall into play, okay? So schedule is huge. And if you put those three things together where you take care of your health, you take care of your financials, and then you take care of your schedule, everything will help happen for you, all right? And even if you have a shit ton of blue moons, it'll still happen for you.
Well, Blue Moon better have
Hey,
us here.
Blue Moon, sponsor us. That's your second reference this episode. Get on this train.
Hey, like I said, I need to take a trip to Colorado. I will be stopping in Nikolan because that's where a huge
Reference number 3.
huge person, huge motivator for me, Kate Pate, lives out there. I'm definitely going to go visit her. So I'll stop into Blue Moon if you want to sponsor me too.
Right on. Alex, you got any shout-outs?
I actually don't have. Oh, here's my shout out.
303.
3.
There we go.
All right. Seth, anything?
Hey,
Yeah, actually, I want to give a beer shout out too. So what I was drinking was my friend's homebrew.
Ooh.
She's gonna be starting up a company. It's called Shooty Brewing.
Shooty Brewing.
Yeah.
Is that an off-menu beer? Because it definitely didn't have a label. I'm just curious. Are you just so flexing right now that you're like, bitch, I get off-menu beer?
Yeah, he's like, I don't want to plug too hard with a label.
This one specifically is an orange IPA that she made, and it's
Ooh.
it's really good.
Oh yeah.
That sounds good.
So that's my shout out. Follow her on Instagram, Facebook.
Oh yeah.
I'll find the link and send it to you or something.
Cool.
Or something.
Or we might send you a parchment. You don't know. There'll be they'll get exposure.
Maybe a
Don't worry.
sample.
Carrier pigeons.
hey, so you got marketing. If we're doing shout-outs, man, I mean, obviously, naturally, you're into marketing because it's required for anything to sell. Any production to sell requires marketing. Any business plan requires marketing in order for it to be successful. But since we're talking about marketing and we were talking about health and wealth, I really didn't go over the things that create wealth. There's a bunch of different income streams, right? You have waged income. You have like passive incomes, which are your dividends, your capital gains through equities. You also create income through commissions. And we're talking about marketing. We're talking about shout-outs. So I am an affiliate marketer for Uncana, which is a veteran CBD oil company. It's extremely trusted, extremely good standards. They're very high standards, great products. I'd love to give a shout-out to them. They've completely changed my life. As a disabled veteran, the VA was pumping me with so many goddamn pharmaceuticals. It was ridiculous. I literally will send you guys a picture of my little pill pack where you have like the Monday through Friday. I'm practically 90 years old. If you look at my pill pack, I was able to reduce my pharmaceuticals by 2, completely wiping out 2 pharmaceuticals, replacing with CBD oil, and I've never felt better in my life. So if you guys aren't conscious or aren't moving down the natural applications for betterment and for self-healing and stuff like that, definitely take a look into it. Uncana is just doing an amazing job. They're super philanthropic, which obviously gets me going. I market them and I affiliate market them for a reason because I believe in them, not because of commission. But commission is a form of income, right? So if you're already doing things in life, like you have a health company or a supplement company or a bar soap that you love, that you use every day, that you're passionate about, it's much easier for you to be a marketed affiliate on the side. So side hustles are very important to start pulling in commissions and putting those to the side as well. Canna has given me the ability to do that, and I definitely want to give them a shout out. I love being an affiliate marketer for them because I'm passionate about the product, and I'm not just looking for any type of profit or anything like that. I would do it if I got no commission. So also look for those things that you're passionate about like that, other companies that you completely support and use, and figure out how you can promote them. Because if you help other people grow, right, do unto others as you want to do unto yourself, or you want done unto yourself. That's very, very, very true. And also give, and you shall receive. That is also so fucking true. It's never been truer that if you care about others in an empathetic way, it just comes back tenfold. So big shout out to Uncana. Big shout out to Opping Natural with medicine and how the world is just going in that direction. Thank you guys for giving me the ability to be a part of that team.
Well, the shout out I had this week was for a group that I've been a part of for several months now. I got involved with them when I got out of the Army and started going to UCCS, but it is the Veterans Writing Community. It's that simple. We are local to Colorado Springs right now, but they and kind of UCCS, but with everything going digital, and we're having a lot of our meetings, via Microsoft Teams and stuff like that. If you are a veteran listening and you want to get hooked up with just a place to write, basically, doesn't have to be anything about your service. It doesn't have to be anything specific. It's more of just a place for you to write if you'd like to and get to know some other veterans and just have a nice network of like-minded people. They were a great outlet to me. They actually published a piece of mine back last November called Purple Pine Cones, which Staff Sergeant Russo is mentioned in quite a few times. But I'll put the link for them in the description. Yeah, you're in there a couple times. I'm glad you read it. That's cool. But
I did. I didn't fucking read it, and I'm in it. Oh yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I'll put that in there, and we will get that going.
Actually, now I do have a real shout out after Tony's speech. No, it just made me think, because I haven't been to Elevation Cycles yet this year, but they're my go-to bike shop in Denver. I've looked for years to find a bike shop that listens to me rather than sells me what I don't need or don't want. And I've gone in there so many times, and I've been honest with them, like, hey, I ride my bike this way, and they're like, well, that's not recommended for your parts. I'm like, I know. And they're like, okay. And they do what I ask them to do, which is surprising that people don't do that. But, I go in there, they know me by name. This Christmas, I brought them all a 6-pack. If you need a bike shop in Denver, definitely check out Elevation Cycles. They're the #1 bike shop. I will never go anywhere else.
And bring them beer, and they'll give you preferential treatment.
Yeah.
Oh, they were giving me preferential treatment for 2 years before I even did that.
I'm kidding. All right. Well, hey, Tony, thank you again for being on. And thank you, everyone, for watching, liking, subscribing, sharing, doing whatever you do with all these podcasts. And thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, we'll talk to you later.
See ya.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. It's just you and me.